Yo guys, in today's video I'm ranking races from F to S in WorldBox. So I'm going to give you the info on which one's the worst and which one's the best. Hope you enjoy. Alright guys, I'm a bit sick, but I can still do the voiceover. So first one that we're going to do is going to be, out of these, the orcs. And I'm going to explain why I'm going to put them on S tier. So first of all, their strengths. They have natural health regeneration, high base damage, rapid repopulation, and they start with gear and readiness that easily wins 1v1 fights against every other race. But they do have some weaknesses that are very bad for them. For instance, being highly aggressive. It leads to constant wars and making them vulnerable and surrounded by enemies. Alright guys, so for our next one, we're actually going to pick the humans, and I'm going to put them in A tier because they're really basic. So their strengths, first of all, they have really good economical growth, fast empire expansion, and large boat production. They adapt really well and they manage hunger efficiently. They form stable and massive kingdoms, but they do have a few weaknesses. First of all, their individual combat sets are easily overwhelmed, and if caught isolated in small numbers, they can be easily wiped out. Alright guys, for the third one, I'm going to put them in B tier. Sorry, I meant the dwarves. We're going to put them in B tier. And this is because they have the highest HP pool at 200 HP. A unique mining trait that accelerates resource gathering. But here's the weaknesses. But a very slow movement and development speed, leaving them vulnerable to fast attackers and archers, which suck. Alright, so for our number 4 spot, we got elves, and these have to be C tier because their strengths aren't that great and their weaknesses are really big. So first of all, their strengths, they have long lifespans and they can reproduce really quickly, and they have like a preference to bows and arrows, which combat, well, it's really good for basic defense, but they suck at close quarters, which is one of the weaknesses, and are highly vulnerable to fire and heavy rushes, so they would lose to the humans and orcs. Alright guys, so now we're going to do the bark folks, or the dogs. So they possess two major things, and that is the genius trait and the dash trait, which makes them extremely good in tech and exceptionally fast in close combat, and it closes all gaps instantly, making them elite tacticians. Alright, now we have the armor rock, or the uplifted rhinos. So, why that they are S tier? So, they have unparalleled raw stat blocks. They have really high base HP pools with innate armor percentages and a staggering knockback potential. In the standard battlefield engagement, a small squad of armor rocks could easily shatter a human army in 5 times their size. Alright guys, for the next one, we have the Slypaw, which are basically just the foxes, but they're A tier at best because while one of their things is bloodlust, it makes them terrifying in 1v1 duels. They lack defensive armor or speed traits that are really required to survive being focused down by a large army. Alright, so now we have the Meowmorph. And I'm going to say D tier for this character because it's not so great. They have higher reproduction rates, but it means nothing when their actual individual combat stats are weak, causing them to essentially act as free experience points for the rest of the enemy armies. Alright, so now we got actually one of my favorites of the anthropomorphs, and that is the Scorp. So their area of destruction is so big because they're venomous, poisonous, and they have arcane reflexes. A single battle with a Scorp kingdom leaves an entire enemy armies, slowly melting from poison damage. They also bypass traditional combat loops, retaliating automatically when struck. Alright, now we've got one that isn't very good and why I hate it. So they are S tier because they are strong, but they're just barely S tier. So they're really good in close range melee, and they possess natural dense armor traits and high damage critical multipliers. They're pretty much just Timu orcs, and that's why I don't really like them. But they have
there's one thing that they don't have. They have 0 diplomatic penalties, allowing them to build massive, stable mega empires while maintaining max physical lethal. Alright, so now we're going to have another Timu one, and this is a Buffalon. It's pretty much just an armor rock, but worse, so A tier. Alright, so guys, now we have a pretty interesting one. This is the Uplifted Bear. So they have massive HP pools paired with big stomachs trait, so they can eat a lot, and they're usually very peaceful until provoked. And they act as juggernauts in battle. Alright, now we got the Howleer, or the Uplifted Wolves. So they are easily very high on the tier list because, well, they have a bunch of innate things. So let's grab them, put them on A tier. So first of all, they have psychological advantage. They trigger fear debuff in neighboring enemy infantries and scanning formations, turning organized armies into easy targets. Next, we got the Lulclaw, and they actually steal items and high tier equipment, and they are the uplifted hyenas. They are actually very good in disarming high-tech kingdoms. Alright, and for the next one, we've got the Reptilioid, or the Uplifted Crocodile. And so, they actually have high natural armor and a damage multiplier, but they're S tier in swamp maps, but on any other map, they kind of suck. So, B tier has to do. Alright, next we have the Snook, and these are the Uplifted Snakes. So, they are, they're poisonous and agile, and they aren't really that good, but they're skirmish, and they melt away enemies via hit and run tactics. So, now we got the Nibbling, or the Uplifted Rats. They possess Immortal and Regeneration, so they never actually die, but we're gonna have to put them at C because they suck in fighting and pretty much everything else, but they usually have max civilian units. Alright, so next we have the Bakken, or the Uplifted Sheep. They have high vitality, but they're cursed with the unlucky trait, so they have to tank everything, and they don't have anything else for show, so D tier. Alright guys, so now we have the Mutar, or the Uplifted Cow. They're pretty balanced with hard skin, but they're slow. They absorb basic sword attacks cleanly, but enemy archer lines can kite them across the entire map in a single hit. Alright, so now we have the Uplifted Monkeys. They are strictly reliant on the lucky trait. If their RNG rolls in their favor, they can chain critical hits and dodge incoming attacks. But if their luck runs out, they lose to one human. So now at the very bottom, we got the Hopper, the Uplifted Rabbits. They are exceptionally fast, but their health pool is so fragile that a single area of effect strike or an explosion wipes out entire regiments instantly. So now we got the Peck Lord, or the Uplifted Chickens. Spatially disadvantaged by being giant and fat. This gives them a large hitbox that absorbs every incoming arrow on the screen, turning them into an easy target for practice archers. So now we got the Herdor, or the Uplifted Goats, which are culturally smart due to the genius trait, but burdened with the weak modifier. So they tech up fast, but they hit like wet noodles, so they suck.
Alright guys, so it is the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.